Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Tweeten. I am a classroom instructor for North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom, and today we want to go over a lesson that we feel that you can use in the classroom. The lesson is entitled Family Farms Then and Now, and what's cool about this lesson is it's actually spaced into 4 different sessions, or can even be broken up into 4 different days, so you can kind of take a week or so to cover the lesson. It's geared toward 4th grade students and satisfies the Social Studies Iowa Core Standards. The purpose of this lesson is so that students will be able to identify different factors about how family farms in the Midwest have changed in the last 200 years. What I like about this lesson is that the majority of the supplies needed for this lesson are things that you probably already have in your classroom, so it doesn't require much to implement the lesson. Some background information might be helpful to share with your students depending on how many students have a rural background or not. There is some background information provided with this lesson, but you could even do an activity as simple as, if you've been teaching for 25 years, sharing with your students how many of those students that you had 25 years ago actually came from the farm, and then maybe asking them how many of them currently live on the farm, so that they have an understanding that the number of farms, even over the last 25 years, has significantly changed. So somehow driving home the point that farming from even 100 years ago is very different from farming today. So the interest approach for this lesson includes having the students draw a picture of what they feel a modern day farmer looks like. So as you can imagine, we anticipate a lot of students will probably draw an old MacDonald kind of figure, basically an older man on a tractor with a piece of straw in his mouth or something like that. And so it's okay to kind of discuss that, but have the students hold on to this picture for later on in the lesson. Moving into the first day of the lesson, you will introduce the KWL graph, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, but you basically want to get an idea of what the students know, what they want to learn or think they should learn, and then at the end of the lesson what they actually have learned. And the whole purpose of this graph or chart is to make sure that we're examining how farming has changed over the last 80 to 100 to even 200 years. So what you'll do is you'll split the students into 3 groups and assign them a century that they will become the experts of farming in the Midwest for that century. So the 3 different groups are 1800s, 1900s, and 2000s. And as a class, you can work on this together. So you'll go through with your students and identify what they already know about agriculture. And as you kind of establish that, you can kind of ask some leading questions, get an idea of what they already feel like they know. Then you can move into what they want to know or what they think they should know. And I think it's kind of important that you kind of guide this discussion so that they're wondering things like how many people does an average farm feed during their particular century? How many farmers were in the United States during their century? What was life like on the farm? Things like that. So that it's kind of guiding their thinking so that as they're researching their different centuries, they're all kind of trying to answer the same questions, which makes it easier for them to compare one century to the next. After you have done that and kind of guided them and given them what their goals are, they will go ahead and move on to the second session where they begin researching their centuries.
Hi, my name is Julie Tweeten, and I am also a classroom instructor with North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom. So for the second day of this particular lesson, the first thing you'll want to do is remind your students of their KWL chart so that they remind themselves of what it was that they thought they wanted to learn throughout this lesson. And if you haven't already, you should divide your classroom into the 3 groups for the 1800s, the 1900s, and then the 2000s. After they've done that, they can start researching their century. So in order to do that, they can use books that are listed in the suggestion companion resources, the internet, or other sources to conduct their research. Some books that we have available here at North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom for you to borrow would be Diary of a Farmer, Food and Farming Then and Now, Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table, Grandpa's Tractor, and then a farm through time. So again, these are available for you to borrow from us. So if you are interested in doing that, just feel free to contact one of us. So the kids should be looking, in their research, they should be looking for certain types of information. It'd be kind of in 3 different categories. The first category would be general Midwest information from their particular time period. So for instance, in the 1800s, the Midwest was first being settled by European immigrants. In the 1900s, growing food to support war efforts, and in the 2000s, technology advances like precision agriculture came into play. And the second category would be farm tools used during the time period, such as in the 1800s, it'd be horse-drawn moldboard plows, the 1900s, mechanized tractors, and the 2000s, auto-steer tractors. And the third category would be what family life was like during that time period. For instance, in the 1800s, families lived in sod-roofed houses and they had no indoor plumbing. In the 1900s, running water and electricity became common. And of course, in the 2000s, internet and technology are common. Your job as the teacher, while they're doing their research and working on their project, would be to oversee the groups to make sure that they're working hard and together and heading in the right direction. And it's important for you to allow the students to decide who's going to work on what part of the lesson, because this is to encourage team building.
Hi, my name is Brianna Frick. I am an instructor with North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom, and I'm going to go over day 3 of the lesson. Students are going to have an option to make 3 posters based on the century that they have been given. You will hand them a blue, yellow, and pink sheet of paper. The blue will represent the general Midwest information, the yellow will be for farm tools, and the pink will be for farm life. Encourage good handwriting and typing so that it's legible. Pictures are important, but just make sure that they have captions so people know what is trying to be displayed. Give practice time for these presentations so that they can be an expert on their century. Then we're going to go into the final day, day 4, which will be their presentation day. Students will tell about what they've learned and what they've found out, and make sure that they don't read the posters to the class. They are the experts, and they will inform the classmates on what farming during that century was like. Students can also dress up like the farmer in that century for that day. Then once that is accomplished, you guys will hang up their posters on different walls for the different centuries. You will have a walking exhibit where the classroom will walk around the walls and see what the different notes about the changes between the centuries of family farming or farming of the centuries is. After observations, have the class do a discussion over what they've learned and talk about the differences between farming in the centuries. Lastly, have the students pull out the drawing of the modern day farmer from the very first part of the lesson on day 1. Based on what they've learned, is their drawing of the modern day farmer accurate? Have them redraw what they think a modern day farmer looks like. Another fun extension activity that you can do with your classroom is to go and have a farm chat through the North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom with a beef, pork, or dairy or local farmer, where the student can ask questions to the farmers and have them answered.
There are links to this lesson as well as other lessons and other resources available for your use at our website, which is www.nciagintheclassroom.org. If you need more help or more information, feel free to contact myself or one of the other Ag in the Classroom instructors. We'd be more than happy to help you. Thanks for being with us today.